cell phones.
Cell
Okay.
phones, turn them off.
Okay, ready and away.
Okay, it's off.
Here we go. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
Well, we're here, America.
And Bruce McGowan.
Happy holidays.
And we are on the phone with Jason Neubauer, who is going to talk to us about something called You Bet Me, which is some kind of alternative way that we typically bet. Jason, welcome to Sports Econ 101.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Jace.
Okay, so now first question, what is You Bet Me?
Yeah, You Bet Me is the easiest way that you can create bets with your friends. You can create a custom bet about anything. You know, it could be, will you be late to a meeting? Can you lose 10 pounds? I've even seen it used as an icebreaker to get a date with a girl. So we have all the sports lines in there naturally because people bet on sports, but our users literally play for whatever they want. It could be dinner, drinks, movie tickets, literally anything you can think of.
Well, I should have bet my best friend years ago because he never thought I'd get a date with my wife. He always said, "Oh no, go ahead, ask her out." I said, "How much you want to bet that I get a date with her?" He goes, "I'll bet you $100." But I never took him up on it. So.
Well, it's the same. You know what? I was dating this one girl, and this guy said, I said, "I think I'm going to marry her someday." And he goes, no way. I'm still married after 24 years.
How about that?
So how does it actually work, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. So simply right now, we launched initially on iOS and early next year we'll release to Android, but you just download the application, you sign up, and then you can import your friends from either Facebook or your contact list, and you can make the bets right away. It only takes 5 seconds or less.
Sounds like fun. I mean, I wish this was available. I could have really embarrassed my good friend back in the day, 20 years ago or whenever it was.
Well, you still can, because now you'll say, I bet I can take my wife out to dinner. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Have a date night, yeah. Exactly.
Here's the typical talk show question. What inspired you, Jace?
Yeah, actually growing up and even in college, I was actually a terrible gambler. And, I just didn't think, but I really enjoyed betting. And I always found myself, betting with our friends. And, everything that was out there was really always kind of this negative connotation of betting tied to gambling. So, to us, we're kind of the modern day handshake and the anti-gambling website. To us, because we focus on the storytelling of the bet and not the transaction, it's really a unique way for everybody kind of involved to make friendly wagers.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I never looked at it from that standpoint, but that sounds like there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
What's been the reception like?
It's been really well. I mean, we have this kind of unique way of, combining the digital and analog world. It's like as in we're creating, the bets on our smartphone, but the bet, analog as in we're creating this new social experience as a result of the bet. So the adoption rate has been really high for us, early on. We just launched publicly about 45 days ago.
So what about the legality of it if people are going to be betting money? Like, let's say I get on the You Bet Me, and I do it with Vern here, and I say, I think the Niners are going to beat, whoever they're playing next by so many points. You go, okay, you're on for $5 or whatever.
Yeah, so we don't do anything affiliated around the transaction. So the only thing you can lose on You Bet Me is your credibility. So by not benefiting from the transaction directly or indirectly, we don't fall under that. We do have real money betting opportunities in Europe, which I can discuss a little bit later. Where gambling is regulated, but right now we don't focus on that.
Okay, so it's more of a gentleman's agreement where you don't want to welch on a bet type of thing.
Exactly. So everybody on our platform actually has a street cred. So if you didn't actually pay up your bet, I could hit the welch button and it would go out to the entire You Bet Me network. So we have like welchers a day and whatnot, but we haven't seen that problem at all yet because everything's time-stamped and it's all documented right there. There's really no more ambiguity within the handshake. It's all right there in the application.
I got to ask you, what's the most unusual bet you've ever heard being made on in the short life thus far of what you're doing?
I'll give you one on each end of the spectrum. I saw one where a husband had to go to the gym by 9 a.m. and he had to show photo proof that he was at the gym. And then if he did that for his wife, when he came home, he got to choose whether he wanted to be tied up by his wife or he wanted to tie up his
Wow! Daddy likes that.
Oh my God!
Hey!
Okay, so that's one end of the spectrum. What's the other end?
On the other end, there's actually a pastor on our platform, and he used it to incentivize one of his Sunday school students by saying if they showed up 4 weeks in a row, he would bake them a cake of like any time that he wanted to. So it was kind of this validation, bet is just another synonym for challenge or incentivize or another level of competition, and that's kind of my job as a CEO to educate the general public that betting doesn't always have this negative connotation tied to it.
And how do you make money on it? Is it just strictly the advertising that probably comes along with it?
Really in our kind of initial phase, we're not focused on making money or just kind of short term through ads, but we really have some low hanging fruit with these big brands. So we locked in our first partnership with this company called Naked Wine because most of these people are betting on alcohol, sex, dinner, drinks. They're looking for a different way to kind of advertise that 21 to 35-year-old demographic. So we say, hey, go on to YouBetMe today, bet on Monday Night Football, and we'll give you a $50 gift certificate to nakedwines.com. So there's this really unique way for these big brands to have a different way to interact with our users and to hit their target demographic.
Interesting.
Very cool. And let's see here. Okay, so now you got a lot of things on the deck for the company heading into 2014, apparently. And are you guys interested in potential partners?
Yeah, I mean, we're really kind of looking at we want to expand our experience by tying in these brick and mortar sports bars. We've lined up a number of well-known sports bars in the San Francisco area, and we're planning to tie in the social betting to allow the users to bet against each other within the bars. Or patrons can bet against kind of predefined house bets. For example, like the 49ers score a touchdown in the first half, you get 50-cent wings. Our kind of concept is that it'll allow the bar owners to offer a unique experience to further engage their patrons, ultimately leading them to kind of staying longer, drinking, and eating more. We want our other users to see these kind of crazy bets taking places in the bar. We're going to have these marquee TVs at the bar where you can see all the other crazy bets or fun bets that are going on within the other bars. I think it's a unique opportunity to finally kind of solve that brick and mortar tie-in with the digital experience, something that a lot of startups, haven't been able to solve.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Vegas, where especially during the Super Bowl, you used to be able to bet on the coin flip until that one situation happened where they made a mistake.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, is the first score going to be a safety? Is somebody going to outrun somebody else? I mean, there's all kinds of neat bets.
First penalty, what is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I can see a sports bar really taking hold of this because they, especially if they're unique in doing it, they get a lot of business.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're capturing things on our platform that used to be word of mouth, and so we have a lot of unique content that's coming through. As we grow as a big data company, we're going to use that to better the experience of our users.
And what intrigues me about this whole thing too is the fact that people love to get into the excitement and the unpredictability of betting, but it's more than that. It's more of a social experience, as you were pointing out, and that's one thing we don't sometimes consider. I mean, the friendly wager. It's more the experience of having some fun with your friends. It sounds like you've tied into something very very unique and special.
Yeah, and that was kind of the one unintended effect of the platform that I didn't really consider. Is I saw people going back on there to kind of reconnect with your friends. And what's better than your buddy who's in Green Bay as a Packers fan who hasn't talked to you for 2 years, and you just kind of send them over a friendly wager. And I've seen people have these reconnecting conversations on our platform, and that was something really that got me fired up.
Almost a form of Facebook there in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that being sort of a fun way to enjoy the game a little bit more without it really costing a whole bunch.
Yeah.
So, Jason, stay with us for a little bit because we want to talk a little bit more about this, and then you can explain to us a little bit more about how to get the app and all that fun stuff. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break. Here's the first trivia question. Again, the theme is, where did they end their careers? All right, here it is. Jim Zorn was the first quarterback of
the Seattle
Seahawks in their inaugural 1976 year.
I actually covered Jim Zorn back in the late 70s when I was working in Seattle.
Nice
guy.
Very nice guy. Like
Yeah.
Steve Largent, too.
Yeah.
Very good. Good combo.
Good combo.
Now, he led the team until 1984 when he was replaced by David Craig. Okay. For which team was Zorn playing when he threw his final pass? Okay, the first three callers with the correct.
An NFL team.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I want him to go to the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I should know that one, but I don't think I do.
Okay. Ooh,
Yeah.
we love stumping these
Yeah.
guys. Okay, the first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. Jim Zorn was the first quarterback of the expansion Seattle Seahawks in 1976. He led the team until 1984 when he was replaced by David Craig. For which team was Zorn playing when he threw his final pass? 888-660-4495. Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
I know he's coaching somewhere now. He's like an assistant coach. Yeah, he's like the quarterback's coach.
And I remember he had that Johnny Unitas flat top haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did it first,
that.
and then it was interesting. He and Largent were both born again Christians.
Yeah. Oh,
so they were
too,
real goody two shoes. Nice guys, but really goody two shoes. Both those guys. But that was a great combination, though. Those two guys. I think they had like 10 touchdowns one year, 12 another year.
Guess who else became a born again Christian? If you believe what you read.
In 1984.
No, I don't know when he. I looked this up. I'm trying to get him on as a guest.
An athlete?
Yeah, you'd consider him a sports athlete. I mean,
Well, is he known as a sports athlete? Is he best known as a sports
well, let's put it this way: he's a wrestler. So
He's a wrestler.
You know,
Oh, Hulk Hogan?
no.
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 It's got to be somebody like.
Who are some of the? I don't follow pro wrestling, unfortunately.
And apparently, according to the story, in prison is where he became a born again Christian.
He was in prison.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be very obvious when you mention it.
Lex Luger.
Lex Luger. Never heard of him.
Never heard of him? Okay.
Oh, come on. Let's.
No,
He was more wrestler / manager
Oh,
type.
okay.
And the thing is,
Yeah.
apparently his girlfriend was the lovely Miss Elizabeth, who was Randy.
So she
Savage.
got done with Luger and then traded up for Randy.
No, I think it was the other
Or was
way.
the other way around?
I'm trying to get him on the show, and then we'll ask him.
I never got into
Because
pro wrestling.
when Savage died,
Yeah. And
driving off the road, she was in the car.
Jeez.
She got into drugs. I don't know.
I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, she
I'm
lived.
terrible
She
with
lived.
She lived
Yeah.
with the story. Okay, Jason, what else do we want to cover with you before we let you go? Like, I guess.
Yeah, we got to let people know how to get at him.
Yeah.
Website, Twitter.
And you mentioned something about Europe that was intriguing to me, and you wanted to talk about that too. What was that about?
Yeah, I think maybe touch on real quick, obviously, I want you to touch on a little more about, where can you do real money, talk about where it's legal, because we have some kind of cool opportunities in the UK, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about how we can use maybe Bitcoin on the Android platform, and then maybe just kind of lead out with, how can users get on that,
Okay, so I'll tell you what, Jason, I'm going to go ahead. I'll turn it over to Bruce to ask you the question, and you can take it from there, okay?
Okay.
All right. And away we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
Yep.
And Bruce McGowan.
All right.
All right. And when we get to the first commercial break, the trivia contest theme is where they ended their careers. Here was the question. Jim Zorn was the quarterback of the expansion Seattle Seahawks in 1976. He led the team until 1984 when he was replaced by Dave Craig. For which team was Zorn playing when he threw his final pass?
Well, I know he played college ball at Cal Poly Pomona of all places.
No, this is a professional.
But I'm gonna guess
I'm
Dallas.
gonna guess the Rams.
Nope. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There you
They
go.
played one game in 1987.
There you go.
Where old careers go to die.
Boy, don't they ever?
Yeah.
That is just.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I love Jim Zorn though. Jim Zorn would have been great in the read option because he could take off and run. He was like Bob. You remember Bobby Douglas of the Bears back in those days?
Yeah.
Left-hander with great running skills.
He was good. He was very underrated,
Bobby, he was a big guy. Big guy, about 6'4", about 220. Jim Zorn wasn't a big guy. He was about 6'2", maybe 210, average size.
Okay. We are on the phone here with Jason Neubauer, who is talking to us about an app called You Bet Me. And Bruce, do you want to ask him an interesting question?
Well, he was mentioning that there was some possibilities of getting involved with this venture in Europe, and that you can potentially some of your customers or people that are interested in this enterprise, Jason, could get involved. And how does that work now? Explain that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at, the international market, such as United Kingdom, where, betting is legal, it really makes the most sense for us to kind of, find the right partner and leverage our platform to do real money. It is a way for us to monetize. I mean, there's companies like Vetable, who's a viable option for us that do 50-50 sort of rev shares with the real money aspect without having us to go really pursue the licensing ourselves. I think there's a unique opportunity with to leverage Bitcoin as a form of our payment on our Android platform, but we'll see as we release that, early next year.
This whole thing sounds really interesting to me. I mean, it's I guess, sort of typical of the 21st century, the endless possibilities that exist within the internet, but also relating to sports fans who, and let's face it, young people today are just as big, if not more, into sports than they were, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think, technology is finally at this point where, there were some desktop versions, around the peer-to-peer space, but, I think social networks and SMS messaging is finally at this point where now we can take this experience, put it online, and it can be easy and fun, and that's really the opportunity that I'm going after.
Very cool. So, Jason, how do people get a hold of you or You Bet Me? How do they do it?
Yeah, you just go into the App Store and you can download You Bet Me for free. And I love hearing from our users on Twitter. So you can find me at Jason Neubauer on Twitter or You Bet Me, and I'll be sure to get back to you. I mean, the users are our number one priority to us, and I built this thing the way I would use it, with my friends and around that. But at the end of the day, it's my users out there that matter.
Well, I can imagine that once it gets started, it's going to be steamrolling quite a bit. It'll explode probably. Jason, thank you so much for joining us on the phone.
Remember the little people.
Yeah.
On your way out.
Happy holidays, Jason.
That's right.
All right. Oh, very interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on here to, first of all, did you guys see that hit that was put on the punter for the
Oh my gosh! And we're trotting off the field with like part of a towel in his mouth because he was bleeding so badly.
Did they figure out, did he bite through his lip or?
Who knows? But I mean, just
jaw
another classic case where he just did not see it coming.
Yeah. But now, is it considered helmet to helmet? I mean, he hit him under the chin. And it's funny because they talk about how punters and kickers are, defenseless.
They're vulnerable.
Yeah. But now, are they vulnerable once the play is like in motion? It's one thing when they're kicking the ball and then they're defensive.
If the ball is in play, I mean, you got to keep your head on the swivel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're not defensive anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'd rather be a guy who kicks extra points, PATs, and kickoffs. I don't want to be the guy who's punting. You're an open target. The only guy who really always stayed out of trouble, I remember Ray Guy. Ray Guy never, he only had one punt blocked the first 6 years he played in the NFL, and it was in the Super Bowl, and the Vikings got the ball right at the goal line, and there was no score in the game, and they fumbled it away, and from that point on, the Raiders dominated. But Ray Guy only had one blocked punt up to that point.
Did he have any run back for a touchdown?
Very infrequently. I mean, he would hang it up there so high.
Yeah, they have to be fair.
And he knew how to put it in the right spot. He was a great athlete. He used to run fake punts out of the punt formation.
I remember that.
He was he should be. Well, he is in the Hall of. Isn't he in the Hall of Fame?
No, the Raiders.
No,
the Raiders
in the Hall of Fame.
He should be in the Hall of Fame. Well, if one gets in, that's the guy who goes.
But this fella for the Bengals, good. Kevin Huber.
Oh yeah.
Broke his jaw.
Ouch.
On that one. And his neck. There was a vertebrae.
Part of a
Is that right?
vertebrae.
I saw Anquan Bolden got blasted by a defensive back by the Bucks the other day, and it looked like one of those. And he just popped right back up. It's like nothing, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys they can take a hit, and other guys they just get bashed in the wrong spot.
Well, another Bengal got hit pretty hard, but he did bounce up on the same play.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then they were talking about here that about potentially could have been a penalty. And then they also last week acknowledged Jeff Triplett's blunder in giving the Bengals a touchdown after the runner had clearly been down by contact by a Colts tackler. The week before, it was Triplett again, whose crew messed up the downs in the final possession of the Giants' win.
Inexcusable.
In Washington.
Inexcusable. That kind of money and that kind of prestige and that many people watching it. The NFL, I think generally speaking, they do a pretty good job, but when they screw up, I mean, jeez.
Well, it's not just one referee. You've got 5 or 6 umpires and refs on there. And then,
I know.
It's funny because remember when they went on strike? How much we just.
Oh, you remember that one game? Was it Seattle that ended? It ended complete. It was just a complete bizarre ending.
One guy says touchdown.
Yeah, the other guy's like, people are going, "What happened? What happened?"
Right. And then they also said here, they admitted that the game in Baltimore where they failed to flag Steelers coach Mike Tomlin for standing on the sideline during the kickoff.
Oh yeah.
That. And
he ended up getting what, $50,000 fine?
$100,000 fine, and he didn't trick the guy. He just was stepping on.
Did he have to pay that out of his own pocket, or did the team pick that up?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of money.
They 2 weeks before that, the league was forced to address how officials handled the end of the Carolinas' win over New England when a flag was thrown on the final play.
Oh, right.
Remember that? As the Patriots were intercepted in the end zone.
And then they said no penalty.
They didn't give an explanation.
Oh, and that was a terrible call. I mean, the Patriots got. It's interesting. The Patriots have won like 5 games in the final seconds, and they've lost 2. That one and the one this past week, where the ball was intercepted against Miami in the final.
It's intercepted by
the former 49er.
Former 49er, former Stanford Cardinal, Michael Thomas,
yeah.
who was put on waivers by the Niners.
And picked up that
He
week.
goes to Miami.
Yeah.
Get this, Edward. His only practice with the Dolphins was on the scout team.
Yeah.
So he had no real reps playing like in the Miami Dolphins base defense. So they stuck him in there, and he broke up one pass that should have maybe been a touchdown, and then he picked off Tom Brady when it mattered the most.
What a great moment.
My guess is it's probably a little. I'm just guessing now. It's probably a little easier to be in that position because was he a safety? Or
Yes,
quarterback?
safety.
So being a safety, he's got a little bit more flexibility to be, a little on your own, right?
But still, you got to make that.
I know, and I'm very impressed still,
But still, I mean, you got to read Brady. You got to be in the right spot. I mean, you're playing center field back there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't let anything.
That's right.
pass
I'm not
you.
taking anything away from him.
But what a year for the Patriots! Those 7 games that have gone down to the final seconds. They've won 5 and lost 2 of them. Amazing.
Like I said, remember the guy we had before who said the sports are rigged?
I'll tell you. I remember this is going way back. 1970. George Bland, 5 weeks in a row, either won a game or tied a game or by throwing a touchdown or kicking a late field goal. And he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. The oldest pro strikes a game. 43-year-old George Bland played till he was 48, and then 26
incredible.
years in the NFL. Yeah.
But it helps to be so versatile.
Well, he could kick. He was a good kicker.
He
maybe
was.
not as good as that kicker for Baltimore the other night, but I mean, what was that? A 61-yarder with
61-yarder to win.
Wow.
Yeah. What about the 64?
5 field goals,
Oh,
6
that's
field goals in the game, all made. That was the only all the points put on by the Baltimore Ravens.
Boy, I hope those.
Which, by the way, my Saltless Nuts fantasy football team,
Yes.
closest margin of victory, got to be in the history of our league. I won 117.7 to 117.4.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
Ooh. Wow.
Woo!
That's
I'm
cutting it
impressed.
close.
I was sweating, baby.
That is cutting it close.
Tell you what, before
Goodness.
we go to a break, I want to also cover this. Do you guys remember a few weeks ago, Steph Curry makes a bucket to tie the game?
Oh, yeah.
But there should have been a technical foul. Do you know why?
Why?
Because Nemanja Nedovic, he was coming onto the court to celebrate. So that meant there were 6 men on the floor when the Mavs put the ball in play with 1.5 seconds to go.
Gosh.
And,
Are you
and
sure
those
about that?
things-
That's right. That was
Sure
a,
they didn't call timeout
No,
after
they
he hit
didn't.
that bucket? No.
They didn't have any
They didn't
timeouts
have any
left.
timeouts
Yeah.
left, so they went right in, and right away, in theory, they should have said, wait a minute, there's 6 guys on the floor.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter that he's just a spectator, jumping up and down, another Mike Tomlin type
That's
thing.
right.
Right? And
They
so
were very lucky.
They were.
Very
So
lucky.
if the Mavs, then, and this is like speculation, right? But if the Mavs would have made the technical foul, then they would have had the ball probably past half court, right?
Yeah.
At that point?
Yep.
And then they, with a little bit of time, potentially to set up
To
for
win.
a play to win.
Isn't that amazing? Would have gone to overtime. Yeah. I was at the game against Houston, and I tell you, the Warriors right now are struggling. They're having a tough
Yeah,
time.
13 and 12. What? It
Yeah.
seems like just a cup of coffee ago they were 8 and 3.
That's the NBA, and it's a Western Conference. It's tough. The West is much better than the
Speaking of
East.
struggling, how about Kobe?
Oh, yeah.
Lakers have won with him.
Yeah,
They're even worse with him.
Well, a torn Achilles tendon, that's the toughest thing to come back from. He's 35 years old. I mean, you come back from I remember Phil Smith was a great player for the Warriors in the 1970s. He was an all-star, 2-time all-star. Tore his Achilles, was never the same. Never played more than a couple of
Worked
years.
out pretty well for Michael Crabtree.
Yeah,
It sure did.
difference.
Okay, we're going to cut to our second commercial break. Again, the theme is, where did they end their careers? Quarterback Jim Hart, remember him?
Oh,
He played
sure.
18
Wow,
seasons
with the Cardinals.
With the Cardinals,
Right.
Great quarterback.
Which team did Hart play his 19th and final season?
I've got no heart on this one.
The first 3 callers with
Boy.
the correct answer won a free 3-day, 2-night stay.
Another couple.
Lighthouse Resort. I told you I had to get some tough ones for
Yeah,
you.
These guys bounce around. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like
But the next
barely
one,
on the roster
The next, one
with
will
other
be,
teams.
the next one will be easy. This one I guess
Okay.
is hard, right? Okay, 888-660-4495.
Says the man holding the question and the answer in his right hand. Yeah.
Quarterback Jim Hart played 18 seasons for the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals. Which team did Hart play his 19th and final season? 888-660-4495. Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
I think they only went to the playoffs like 3 times and lost all 3 first-round games. But he was a great quarterback. San Diego?
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Was it San Diego?
I'm not telling you.
He's not telling us
I
until we hit the air.
I don't remember Jim Hart playing anywhere else but
I didn't either.
St. Louis.
With the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
I
18
I don't
years.
either.
19. And
19
he started in the
years.
60s.
But he played 18 with the Cardinals?
Yeah. And that's all I
Wow.
remember.
Well, I know he was a backup to Charlie Johnson back in the early and mid 60s, And then
That
Charlie.
means for at least 18 of those years, they couldn't find anybody better than him.
Yeah, well, he was pretty good.
But, you know,
I remember Charlie Johnson went to the Broncos. He was actually the first guy that led the Broncos to a contending position. The Broncos were not in the playoffs, but they went to the last day of the season before the Raiders knocked them out in 1973. Charlie Johnson. Good quarterback. Then, of course, Craig Morton was the first one to take him to the postseason.
Yeah, the Orange Crush.
The Orange Crush.
I was really rooting for them too.
I remember covering a game in '77. The Raiders had won something like 16 in a row, and Stabler got completely blasted the night before. Drank too much booze, threw 6 interceptions. They got pounded by the Broncos in Oakland. I remember Tom Jackson yelling at John Madden as he was coming off the field. It's all over, fat man! It's all over.
I like Tom Jackson.
He's great.
It's funny because I didn't like the Broncos during the time, but when it was against the Cowboys, it's like
They had some good players: Randy Gradishar, Lyle Alzado, Billy Thompson, Haven Moses.
That's right. Alzado played for them when he came to us.
Yeah. Alzado was very good.
Okay, going on the last segment. Got some
Yankton College. That's where Alzado was from.
Yankton
College in South Dakota.
Wow. Okay. There we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are exciting. Okay, we got to the second commercial break. We asked this trivia question again. The theme is, where did they end their careers? And we are talking all NFL football here.
Okay.
Okay. So, quarterback Jim Hart played 18 seasons for the St. Louis Cardinals. Which team did Hart play his 19th?
All right, let's try and figure this out. What was this?
I'll give you the year.
Can you give us the first? Give us the year he ended.
1984.
Okay, so he started in '66, and he was a backup. I remember to Charlie
84.
Johnson.
Who was strong in '84? Let's see. Let's see.
Well, Montana was at his peak.
Okay, and
Redskins were good.
Doug Williams.
There it is.
Redskins.
He was
Get out of here.
He was a backup to Joe Theismann.
Oh my God.
Wow. Formerly known as Joe Theismann before he changed his name to rhyme with Heisman.
Wow.
Do you know that, Edward?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, when he was when Joe was at Notre Dame, he changed the pronunciation to Theismann.
For Heisman.
To rhyme with Heisman.
Right.
Funny, but he didn't win.
No, he did not win.
No.
I always liked Joe Theismann. Good guy.
Me too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the only thing I mean, not that only thing I remember, but because of the Lawrence Taylor thing, putting him out of football. That just kind of stinks.
But he got a Super Bowl ring.
He sure did.
Yeah. I was there in 1982. John Riggins. What a great man.
One of my first dealings with Joe Theismann, I was in summer intern. This is 1983. Summer intern, Channel 9, WDVM at the time. Now it's WUSA in Washington, D.C. This is in Washington, D.C. And I got a chance to go to Redskins training camp. And in those days, they were in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, Lehigh University. Anyway, so Theismann's, he's
big man
still
on
kind
campus.
of the man.
Yeah.
And never met a camera he didn't like.
Oh,
I mean, the guy was great on television. Anyway, there's a crew talking to him, and they're like, Joe, we don't have much, we don't have much tape time left in the camera. And he goes, well, how much time do you need? He goes, we need about a minute and a half. Son of a gun. He threw out the question. Joe's answer lasted about a minute 20.
Of course.
Of course. Came in right under budget time-wise. The guy was perfect.
And he did very well in front of the camera later as an analyst.
He's very good. Like Steve Young's like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Steve Young's terrific.
Okay. So, have you ever heard of Daniel Adongo?
No. Name doesn't strike a bell.
He is now an Indianapolis Colts linebacker.
Oh.
But let's see here. He came from rugby.
Interesting. Oh, there's some
I
guys.
can see the transition there.
Yeah. I know Cal Rugby has gotten a lot of high school football players locally here in Marin County, where we're doing the show from. Some of the top high school talent that could probably play on the college level goes to Cal and plays rugby because they have this nationally ranked team. So I've never heard of the transition the other way.
Jack Clark got a factory going on over there.
Oh, that's
If you Google this guy, you'll see he looks like a football player. I mean, the guy is just cut.
Just a big dude, huh?
Yeah, he's just a big dude, and I think he comes from. He's 24 years old. He played rugby professionally in South Africa before the Indianapolis Colts signed him in July.
Where's he from originally?
South Africa.
He's South African. Wow.
Yeah. He never visited the United States before the NFL opportunity, and he spent the previous 13 weeks in practice squad.
It'd be interesting to find out what percentage of NFL players come from foreign countries. I think it's relatively small because the NBA, I think it's about
Yeah.
15-20%. Major League Baseball is close to 35%. And most of those are Latino countries. So
football, you get more Samoans.
Yeah, you get Samoa, but you also get a few English. I mean, the Raiders have a couple guys that are from England, and the odd Frenchman or German. You know, not too many. A few Africans. Hey, look at Christian Okoye, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, the
Originally-
Nigerian,
Nightmare.
Boy,
Yeah,
I think he was born there and raised here, but he was for about 4 or 5 years. That guy was tough.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Man,
yeah,
That
he
was a
fun to
stud, man.
Oh, he was tough.
watch. Okay, how about this? Carlos Beltran to the Yankees and Robinson Cano to the Mariners.
Yeah, how about
What
that?
What do you think?
I think the Mariners
Both
are.
those guys getting paid.
I
Big
mean, the
bucks.
Mariners have just got to be thinking, what are they thinking? You know, throwing that kind of money. That guy was a good player, but he's not a He's
No,
not going
he's
to
not
turn that
franchise,
franchise around. That's a bad franchise.
Yeah.
That's a mediocre front office. That's a fan base that has been disillusioned, and it's a shame because it's a good. I've worked in Seattle. It's a great area, but it's just a bad franchise. He will not turn that team around.
How old is Cano now?
He's in his early 30s, late 20s.
Robinson Cano, he's 31.
31. There you go.
31 got the 10-year contract.
10 years.
240,
240.
10 and 240.
$24 million for Robinson Cano.
I would have done it for $200 million.
Well, it was
They could have me.
well,
You hear what he said about to the Yankees? He said they didn't respect me. They never wanted to re-sign me. They didn't respect me. They offered him $17 million a year for 7 years. That's not enough respect for you? Come on.
That's like,
Jeez.
hey, Latrell Sprewell, right? I gotta feed my
I
family.
gotta feed my family.
Right.
Where is Latrell
Right.
Sprewell these days?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Carlos Beltran, holy smoke! Now he played. Gosh, he played with the Mets. He played with the Giants.
Cardinals.
He played with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And now
Good
for the
player.
Yankees. He's
Good player.
Good player. Seems like a decent guy
Yeah,
too.
he is a good guy.
Okay, so now moving on to New York Giants Hakeem Nicks. Talking about wishing that he had purchased the disability insurance that was offered to him.
Oh, boy.
So apparently this guy he plays for the New York Giants, and he was offered a disability policy. He was, I don't know if it's worth spending the money.
How much was the policy?
Well, it says here the cost for a professional athlete usually runs in the range of only 10 to 12,000 per million. So it says here it would cost for a $10 million policy. He could pay it says here a lump sum of roughly $120,000, but he would have collected $10 million tax free if he had suffered a serious injury.
And he didn't sign up for it.
Nope.
And he's regretting it.
Yep.
Hell
And
yeah.
fellow receiver Victor Cruz purchased one last season, and I guess he must have collected. I didn't really read that part of it, but the thing is, gosh, when you make that kind of money, and it doesn't cost quote that much percentage wise, and you're playing a game that it's pretty easy to get hurt.
Young guys just don't think that way though. They think
that's
I want
exactly
the
what it
money,
is.
I want the toys, I'm invulnerable. I'm going to play until I want to walk away from it. Then you get your first injury and you realize, wow, this is a cruel world.
I think you hit the nail right on it. It's these guys are thinking that they're going to walk away when they're ready.
That's right.
They never think about how many guys.
How many of us get to walk away from anything if you really come right down to it when we're ready?
In today's world,
yeah, you're told.
Yeah, you don't leave on your own terms.
No,
in
you
today's
don't.
World.
No, you do not.
Nobody's a franchise player.
Nobody.
Even in the private sector.
There's no
For
loyalty.
those who are speaking in the real world.
That's true.
Yeah.
I tell you, I've been fired a few times from radio and TV, and that happens. It's part of the game, but you just deal with it,
I fired myself one time. I just wasn't cut out for it. Okay, so how many
did you find yourself?
Yeah.
Find yourself.
Yeah. Well,
But you found yourself.
I found myself.
You
Yeah.
found yourself.
Yeah, there was
Out here in California, we have to find ourselves. You see, that's what we do. We come out here and hey, I'm okay. You're okay. I found myself.
Yeah, some guy apparently. I remember reading this. He wanted to steal from himself.
Okay.
And then put a claim in because he got robbed.
Okay, that's different.
That doesn't kind of work that way.
No, I don't think.
But going back to the injuries part, how many more football injuries do you think that's going to happen because of cold weather?
Ooh, good question.
Right? That happens. It seems to happen a lot more, right? Because the muscles aren't.
It'd be good to get one of these sports doctors on sometime to talk a little bit about injuries. I mean,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, get somebody on to talk about that. I mean, we were watching that game the other night or the other afternoon, Philadelphia, Detroit in Philadelphia during the snowstorm.
Right.
And that was just the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was at the Niners game and we had it on the big screen and we're watching this thing, and it looked like they were playing in a snow globe. I mean, it's insane. How do these guys stay healthy in that kind of way? Well, it's football.
Well, if snow, if it's not icy, isn't too
Isn't
bad.
too bad,
Right?
yeah.
It's like mud.
It's a little slippery.
Yeah.
I played some football when I was a kid in college. Just pickup games at University of Denver. We used to go out in the snowstorms. It was a blast, but it is very slippery out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being on a skating rink. It really is.
Yeah, that to me, that's where it gets really dangerous. It's just where it's like icy.
Yeah.
But just in general, just being cold, and getting hit.
Yeah.
You're not that flexible.
Would you rather freeze to death, or would you rather burn to death?
Freeze to death.
Freeze to death.
Freeze to death?
Yeah.
It's still painful, but
The old what is it, that poem? Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I'll hold with those who favor fire. But if I had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Robert Frost, I think.
of course, with a name like Frost.
Yeah, there you go.
You have to choose ice.
Yes.
Okay, here's kind of an interesting question. And I remember asking Jamie Williams of the 49ers this.
Oh, great guy.
Doc.
Right,
Great guy.
Yeah, that's right, Doc. Why are tight ends among the lowest paid NFL players?
Good question. Good question. I remember Keena Turner, who also played with the 49ers, told me that he had an aversion. It sounds funny to say this. He had an aversion to tight ends. I said, what do you mean? He says, anytime I'm around somebody who played tight end, I just didn't like him. Because he had to guard the tight end most of the time.
Yeah.
But why are they the lowest paid?
Well, first of all,
Yeah.
let's if you look at an NFL roster, you got 53 on the roster. How many tight ends do you carry with you? 4, maybe?
Yeah.
4, 3?
4 or 3. Yeah.
So that's what's 4 times 32? That's how many
128.
jobs? 120. So 128 tight ends on an NFL roster. Maybe they're expendable. Big guys who go out and catch.
And can block. You want to have a guy that's a good blocker.
They're never going to run a go route unless you're Vernon Davis.
Yeah.
Or Vernon Glenn.
Ah.
But that's what I'm thinking is that maybe it's too, out of all the positions, it's hard to be a field goal kicker unless you can really kick well, right?
Well, if you're a big guy like Gronkowski or Jimmy Graham of the Saints, those guys are kind of, they sort of redefine the position. But I think generally speaking, most of these tight ends are, guys that are sort of anonymous. I mean, they're good players, but they're not. Maybe they just feel that they can find these guys. I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking. Is that. Listen, not to disparage anybody, but there's only so many people who can be a quarterback and a quality quarterback. But tight end is kind of almost a generic type of position.
It's a hybrid almost.
Yeah.
You got to do a little bit of everything.
I mean, you can take guys from other positions if they're big enough, strong enough, and as long as they can catch the ball and not fumble, they can be a tight end.
My favorite tight end of all time has to be Dave Casper. I love the Ghost. God,
my life insurance agent.
I know you and a couple other people.
Northwestern Mutual, baby.
Good guy. Good guy. Smart guy. And man, I remember talking to him after games because I was just a young pup working in small market TV. And he'd say things like, you'd ask him about that great play, and he goes, it wasn't such a great play. It wasn't such a big deal. Remember, the ghost to the post play. Or I'm sorry, the famous holy roller play where he recovers the ball in the end zone against the Chargers,
right?
On the fumble. Yeah. He picks it up. If you watch the replay, he picks it up, tosses it to the ref, and just kind of jaunts off the field. All of a sudden, his teammates come and pummel him in celebration.
But you got to be. I mean, you got to be really intelligent to be thinking of, because who's thinking that's going to happen ahead of time? But he's smart enough to know. If he just picks it up, he can't run with it.
He said, I was looking down on the ground. He said, I saw the 5-yard line go by, and I kept pushing it and kicking. And he said, then I saw the big fat goal line going by, and that was the time to fall on it.
I mean, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you got all these guys chasing you, and he's a big guy, but still, you got all these other bigger guys.
I love Bill King's comment, the legendary radio announcer, who says, Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. The officials say, yes, get your big butt out of here. He does.
You do that very well. I still remember that.
Yeah, that was so fun. I was at that game. And on the way, I got to tell you a quick story. On the way home, Ron Fell, the producer, Raider Radio, had a cassette player, and he played that, and a bunch of us were listening. All of a sudden, sneaking around the back were both Al Davis and John Madden, and they were kind of poking their heads in to listen to it, and they both thought it was so funny. They just laughed and laughed and laughed, because Bill King's call was, just
that is legendary.
Yeah.
Okay, really quickly here, we're going to cut to our third and final commercial break trivia question. Again, the theme is, where did they retire? Two-part question, actually, regarding Reggie White.
Oh.
What was
the minister?
That's right. What was the last team he played for, and what was the first professional team he played for? The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. They call 888-660-4495. Vern, do not look that up on the internet.
I'm not.
Come on.
I'm researching for the next show.
That's right. I gave you an easy one here. Two-part question.
All right.
Regarding Reggie White, what was the last team he played for, and what was the first professional team he played for? Make sure to include your name, your email address. Speak slowly. Spell out your email one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial because Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
I know he played Green Bay and Philly, but I don't know
Philadelphia.
where else did he play.
God, did he finish with Tennessee?
I remember he died of sleep apnea, right?
Yeah.
Was sleep apnea?
Yeah, he didn't put the the little device you're supposed to put on. He didn't have one of those. My father-in-law has one of those. It's pretty serious. You can die in your sleep. Yeah.
Because you just can't breathe and you just like kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. I mean, a lot of people have a mild version of it.
Yeah.
I've woken up a couple times and I've been like choking.
Yeah, because yeah, I've done that. But
Yeah. I think it's more stress than anything else. I think that.
Yeah, because you're not like fat. I mean, a lot of times it's fat.
Like a lot of people though. I manage stress pretty well, but I should manage it better. I think that's partly why I got this
internalize
reason.
it a little bit too much. Or?
Yeah, I think too much. I should have gotten in a profession that was more challenging mentally, because broadcasting is fun, but it's skill. But I need to use my brain more, and it's kind of like an athlete that needs to run, and you can't run, and so you get all wound up.
And doing research and stuff doesn't quite.
I think I really should have gotten into teaching or writing. I really would have been a good writer.
You did a good job on that thing you gave me. That was good.
What's that?
The magazine game that you wrote.
Oh yeah. I enjoy writing. It's fun. I do that on the Facebook just for fun.
You guys ready?
Yeah. Definitely. Okay.
We're almost done here, and then
Okay.
we'll wait 10 minutes, and then Brian will be on.
Okay.
Here we go. Hold on, folks. Have technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. We will be right back.
I didn't start this. I don't know why this happened. Do this to me. Don't do it to me.
I remember one time, what was it? I wanted to play a piece of videotape at the TV station I was working at. I called for it. This is in Eureka. And the producer in my ear, the director in my ear says, "We can't play that." I said, "What?" And I just kind of looked at the screen. He goes, "We've got a couple of clogged heads. We can't play it." And I was really pissed off. And I said, "Sounds like we got on the air." I said, "Sounds like we have a couple of clogged heads in the control room." And the general manager was watching that night. He goes, "Bruce, that was not professional." I was all pissed off because I'd worked on this piece, all day long, and we couldn't play it. I played it later that night at 11, so I was a typical 25-year-old kid, didn't know any better.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
Discount double check.
Yeah, very good. Affleck. And Bruce McGowan.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. We're a little late for that.
Oh,
It was
sorry.
3 days-
Happy New Year.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Of course, Christmas is all year round.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, here is the third and final trivia question. The theme is, where did they end their careers? Two-part question regarding Reggie White. What was the last team he played for? And what was the first professional team he played for?
Oh,
I know he played for Green Bay and he played for Philly, but he must have played for somebody else too.
Started with Philly first, then Green Bay.
Green Bay, yeah.
I'm gonna. I thought he ended with the Tennessee Titans.
No, he ended with the Carolina Panthers.
Oh,
Son of a gun.
wow.
That's right.
Okay, but who did he start with?
Philadelphia, right?
No.
Oh,
This now, if you heard the question, I said, what was the first professional team he played for?
first
Oh,
professional.
it's
some minor league team, right?
No?
No.
The USFL Memphis
USFL.
Showboats.
Memphis
yes, very good.
Oh, that was
Get
a
out
good
of
one.
here with that.
I'm sorry.
And poor Reggie White died of sleep apnea.
Can you believe it?
What a
That's just,
strange thing to die from.
you know,
You have to wear that little mask, and I guess he wasn't doing it or whatever. Yeah, that's a nice man, too. Good guy.
Yeah.
Although he did get in some trouble by saying something. I think he said something anti-gay once because he was born again.
Yeah.
And he got into some trouble for that. But he was basically a good guy.
Yeah.
Good
He
guy.
was very respected among
Very
the team.
respected. I remember a game he had against the 49ers. It was the playoffs in '95. Brett Favre's first big moment when they came into San Francisco and kicked the Niners' butts. The Niners were defending champions, and Green Bay came out of nowhere and won this game. And I remember Reggie White was just in seventh heaven after the
Was
game.
he?
Oh my God, he was.
Well, because he always played for the Eagles, which never quite
yeah,
did good. Okay.
yeah.
Thoughts for the day. Famous soccer coach Bill Shankly said, "Some people think football is a matter of life and death. I don't agree. I can assure them that it's much more serious than that." And Don Shula said, "Sure, luck means a lot in football. Not having a good quarterback is bad luck." Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and giving away more free vacations for answering trivia questions. And our guest is going to be Brian Price, the new Reds manager.
Hey.
Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Oh,
so
America.
Now remember,
All right.
I should have told you. This show is December 20th.